And we've got two of the best to ever do it, Hollywood Leon. We've got Drew Jones. What's up, you guys? Let's have a conversation about Drag Race season number 13. How are each of you feeling about the season? And how are you feeling just in life? Pandemic year, a great year to watch Drag Race because it did give a lot of joy, in my opinion.
It was definitely a light at the end of a very dark tunnel that was this pandemic, but I'm doing well, and I'm really I'm very happy with this season overall. I feel.
Good.
Hi guys, so glad to be back with both of you. Love you guys so much. Drag Race was, yes, a light at the end of the tunnel. I took it very, very seriously. Like, I didn't even watch the finale, and someone spoiled it for me, TikTok, and it literally ruined my entire night because like that's how much I like look forward to every Friday. But trust me, I'm doing good. I'm doing good.
You know, I try to explain to people outside of this world that, you know, I think Monique Hart said years ago, it's the gay Super Bowl, and people just don't understand. Like, don't call me on Friday. Like, I need to be watching. I need to be taking notes. Like, it's a big deal. So I like the season. Real quick, I want to ask you guys a question before we even get to season 13. But of course, support Hollywood Leon. He's got a podcast called Everyone is Terrible. And 2020 was the year to showcase Everyone Was Terrible. Drew Jones, of course, she's got a red carpet demo that I have seen, that I've tweeted about. She is phenomenal. And all I can say is she's got big things coming up. So my first question, and another big shout out to our colleagues. We've got Drag Race TV LA with Mark, Jackie, Tez, Jayla, and Ollie. I've been a guest on their show a bunch of times, and they're tons of fun. So if you want a full episode recap of season 13, that's the place to go. But right now, it is all about us cuties. Question to you guys. What did you feel about coming into season 13 post season 12? Because season 12 had so much going on. Season 12 had, obviously we're still in the pandemic, but it was the beginning of that. And I can't imagine being a contestant in season 12 feeling like I'm going to spend all this money on Drag Race. I'm going to get the payoff. I'm going to get to be in the clubs. I'm going to get my booking fees. And they didn't. So season 12 had that odd, interesting issue, but it also had the really dark issue, which we need not mention, SP. But the point is, what did you guys think that season 12 kind of went through a bunch of hurdles and season 13 felt so good? That's how I took it. Did you guys also feel the same way?
Yeah, because so season 12, I was obsessed with Jada. Like, I loved her. I was so hyped that she won. And I do feel like she got the short end of the stick. She didn't get to, really enjoy her crowning year, and I'm happy that they figured out season 13 in a way that it was enjoyable for everyone, and even the finale and stuff, I really enjoyed, as far as there's still being kind of an audience even though it was different. But I do feel like 12 was definitely sort of ripped off, and it's funny because when you mentioned them, it took me a second to think about, I was like, drama was season 12, because it just didn't feel, season 12 almost doesn't feel like it counts, because it was so, we didn't get to interact with them the way we have with other seasons.
Yeah, season 13 definitely got the better end of the stick. I feel bad for all the queens in season 12. It just wasn't exciting, especially the finale at home, come on, it just did not work. They made the best of it, but it just, even season 13 suffered a little bit with the distancing with the judges and stuff. I don't know. I'm really, really anxious for all this to be over. I really hope that season 12, they do get the opportunity to showcase promo wise afterwards and kind of reap the benefits of the fame and stuff. But sadly, I don't know if it's going to work out for everybody, which is the unfortunate part of COVID that we just have to deal with. Not everyone, got the good end of the stick.
Luckily for the show and the way Ru kind of finds ways, the producers, of course, to reincorporate things, to have Pork Chop on season after season is great. To have Vanjie sort of be embarrassed in that moment, season 10 being the first one to go home, but then Vanjie gets a namesake out of just this odd, interesting thing. I hope going forward that when things do get better, yes, we celebrate Jada, find ways to put Jada in multiple episodes of season 14. So I agree, yes, 12 was a little rough, but it was rough for everybody. But hey, I've been saying season 13 is luck be a lady tonight, because season 13 really gave it to me. I was totally okay with a softer season in terms of no drama. I think with these reality shows, you guys, the Real Housewives, everything is just so dramatic. I don't always need it. So I wanted to ask each of you, did you like the fact that this was more of a friendly season? We've seen it in the judging, and we know we saw it in the judging because the edit did showcase a lot more critical, hey, try this, don't try that. When in reality, back in the day, seasons before, they were meant to be sharp and they were meant to be judgy and shady. Did you guys like a warmer season? Did that feel good for you? Natural? What are your takes?
Well, Candy was crazy. Candy did not stop the drama. I feel like she was like the Nene of Drag Race this season, the Kenya, the messy one.
I will not.
But
I will
yeah,
not accept that. But go ahead. I'm heavy in the paint for Candy. Oh baby,
know.
I'll go to the bedroom with Candy tomorrow. Like Candy is it for me. But we'll talk.
Candy's
We'll talk.
great TV. Candy's great TV, and I do have good things to say about her. She was nominated most terrible in one of the weeks.
Go check out his pod. Yeah, go. Everyone is terrible with Leon.
But I do want to say this about RuPaul. I do love how loyal he is to Pork Chop. It's a shout out every year. Oh, hey, Pork Chop. And it's because she went home first. And he's never lost that. And I kind of like that. But it doesn't happen for everybody. You have to be some sort of like icon, bring something to the show that no one else has. So, Ru always says he doesn't play favorites, but he also admits to having favorites as well. So, and I'm always like on board with the favorites because it's something you can't deny. But as far as fighting for this season, I think Candy and Tamisha really gave us really good episodes. I think there could have been a little bit more, just a tiny bit more.
Of drama, more drama.
Yeah, just to overshadow kind of all the little things that COVID did take away. Like, I don't like the bigger workroom. I don't like it's not as intimate anymore. It just feels grander in the mainstream. And then now physically with the distancing and everything, no celebrities actually coming into the workroom, just little things like that I've noticed.
I feel like in a reunion, we should have got explanations on certain things like that. Like, please give us the detailed, why do we do, obviously we know why of certain things, of why did we do the eliminations as soon as they walked in the workroom, but like that could have been spoken about in the reunion. In stuff like that was not spoken about. Why did we choose the same judges? Obviously we know why, but like, let's talk about like what made sense and how to film it. Then again, they did have an episode that was all about COVID, so maybe that's sort of how they wanted to explain it. Drew, what do you think?
I'm like kind of torn because although there wasn't a lot of drama on the season, like while it was filming, there was a lot of shit I feel like that was happening while it was airing, because like the Elliot with 2T situation where like people were talking about him being racist and transphobic and stuff like that, or all the drama with like Utica trying to be overly woke and then somehow still coming off racist, and like all of that stuff to me was really fun because I just like, especially like as a Black woman, I kind of just like sat back and was like, let me watch the white gays fight for a second. Let me see what this is gonna be. So I mean it wasn't, as far as like juicy stuff happening, it wasn't my favorite season, but I think it gave what it needed to give.
Yeah. I enjoyed it, you guys. I enjoyed it. God,
I need to hear about the Elliot with 2T's thing because I did not know about that. He's from Vegas and I don't know him, but I commented on one of his videos. He was performing at my friend's bar that's called the Phoenix. And so I was like, yes, Phoenix Queen. And he's like, I'm from Vegas. And I'm like, you're performing at the Phoenix bar. Genius. And so that got like, 500 likes. I'm like,
so I also think it's interesting how the editing goes, because like Candy was one of the big people to kind of call Elliot with 2T's out, but I guess like, on the show, Elliot looked very like, oh, everyone thinks he's weird, everyone's like ignoring him, kind of being mean to him. But Candy was like, that's not like really what happened. Like Elliot was actually really rude and like had said some racist stuff and some transphobic stuff, and like in protection of like the people of color on the show, and protection of Gottmik, and like, like we didn't really mess with it. Like he's our sister of the season, but like we didn't really mess with him. So I thought that was interesting because the edit that Elliot got was very like, they tried to make you feel bad for him. I didn't like Elliot from jump, so I was like, I don't care what y'all do, I'm not gonna like this man.
I didn't like him. I didn't like that big forehead. I didn't like his laugh. Like he seems
he looked racist to me. Like I looked at him and I was like, he said the N-word and you can't convince me otherwise.
I wish there was. Yeah, I mean, that's the hard thing is like, then I think the arc that was utilized was, and I probably don't have as much information that Drew saw on Twitter, but I do think, yeah, it's kind of interesting because I think you are forced to be sympathetic because Elliot does talk about a depression issue. And then anyone who's got, good sensibility is, going to be sympathetic of that. But if we're not given that information outside of the edit, that depression, yeah, she might be depressed based on some of the actions that she put forth. And I guess that's what makes this season complicated because it felt like everyone was in on making season 13 more lovable. So that is complicated, Drew. I love that you make that point. I don't scour through Twitter as much, but I definitely heard the rumblings of Elliot with 3 something else's, not 2 T's, but you know what I'm saying. So it's frustrating. With that being said, Elliot did what Elliot did. No one's missing Elliot. Maybe Elliot has a small fan base. Explain more what you're saying with Utica though, because I also had a bit of an issue with Utica. I also had an issue, allow me, you guys. I also had an issue with Olivia's perfection thing, to a degree.
Annoying as fuck. Like, get out of here. Like that little walk was bullshit. Like, get out. You're a grown man.
And by the way,
it's a character, but like, you look stupid. Sis.
By the way, fans of Drew's, fans of Hollywood Leans, fans of RandomlyRJ.com, we will be positive in one moment, but we're just like, we're breaking shit down for a second.
Well, everyone knows I'm a Sour
Lean and I
Patch
together.
Exactly.
This is a hot mess.
Hold on, though. I want to say this about Utica. I was suspect from the beginning when she started with the woke shit. I'm like, something is not right here. I'm like, no one puts it on that hard. It should just be something authentic and part of your like organic thing. Like, like, I don't know, that seems maybe inappropriate. Like, I'll really think about it. I'll ask my friends, I'll ask my colleagues, but she went a little too overboard. So when it actually all came out, I was just like, there it is. Whoop, there it is.
Exactly. It gave me, I always tell people this, like, I get red flags from white allies who either try to be a little too much like boot up with the culture, like they're overly doing it, or people who get offended by things that people of color aren't even thinking to get offended by, those are always red flags for me. And Utica from jump just was very performative, and it made me feel like you've done some fucked up stuff and this is you overly trying to like, be like, oh, I don't know, blah, blah. Because like the stuff that when she was talking about appropriating culture, I was like, I would understand if this wasn't, if like this wasn't a character, but the fit that Simone was putting her in was an actual character from BAPS. Like it wasn't like oh, we're mocking black hair and blah, 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 blah. What was mocking black hair is when
Bob
you decided
Ross.
to do that Bob Ross thing.
That was the one that got me. Yeah.
You made squirrels out of an afro. Obviously, Bob Ross isn't black, but he has 4C hair, and you decided to make your afro
something that's not real.
Yeah, so I was like,
it's up there with the I don't see purple, pink, and I'm like, those are not colors of people.
Those aren't exactly. It was all very performative, and I thought it was silly. And I also thought, like, in a way, you almost were taking away Simone's creativity because you were complicating her vision for a challenge where, like, she's going to get graded for how she dresses you, and the vision that she had is really iconic, and you were like, you didn't have an actual basis for why you didn't want to do it, because it didn't make sense to be like, oh, it's cultural appropriation. It's not, you're doing a character. If you did blackface, okay, cool. But
I do want to give credit when it's due. And I do think when she actually did the runway, it was like perfect. That's why Lonnie Love was like, I think you did great. You were like a person. You weren't trying to be something that you've seen on TV or an idea of what you think someone should behave like. You were just being someone that was feeling themselves in the nice outfit.
But then it also became BS to me even more when the roast happened and she went way too far in the roast after being told she was going to go too far. Like, so it was just like, sis, you're very performative and you gave me the heebie-jeebies from jump, and I try to trust my gut on things, but I was trying to give you a chance and you just kept proving me correct.
The roast was so bad. It's like you could not take a hint. I'm like, people are screaming at, but you know what though? She didn't even listen when people were signing off on her BAP slug. You know, you're asking for your colleagues' opinions and they're telling you, and then you're still not listening. And then the next episode, when you're actually acting like a fool, people are still telling you and you're not listening again.
Well, yeah, and Drew says it, like that performative issue. When you stand behind the performative thing, when you stand behind your thing is kooky and being nice, like that's not, we're whole people. We aren't always kooky. We aren't always nice. So it's not a surprise that slips out in a way that it does, because you are a human. So start acting like a human. The only redeeming thing for not just her, but for everybody is, I do imagine, tell me what you guys think. I do imagine this season was hard to film. I think it was like a very difficult, pandemic. We've got George Floyd. We've got so much going on. Do you guys give any bits of passes to any of the contestants across the board for it being a slightly more challenging season to record? What do you guys think about that?
Well,
maybe as artists and like, as people in the business, like, yeah, it sucks you have to quarantine and do all these nasal swabs, but that's about it. As far as like, your actions are like, no, not at all.
I was gonna say the people who had a legitimate right to be affected by the world issues would have been the Gottmix, the Simones, the whoever, and they weren't the ones who were showing their asses. It was all of these quote unquote white cisgender allies. So I was like, I'm not gonna give you a pass on this. But also I know queens of the past who have been on past seasons, and I've been told like, how strict it is while filming, and it's not like it's not like they're really getting to be on their cell phones. It's not like they're getting to go outside of their hotel room. Like, they get locked up in their hotel room after
that's
filming.
The part I feel bad about.
Yeah, but I'm saying, like, with COVID, that didn't, like, it's not like, oh, it's just now that they're getting locked up. Like
you're saying, yeah, Bianca Del Rio was also in that same situation in that regard. Can I ask you guys questions? Who were, of the past winners, what winners really spoke to you? Who were the winners that really, when it's all said and done, we're now at season 13. I've got about 3 in my head. Obviously they're all great, but 3 really speak to me. I'm wondering who you guys really look back to as just complete.
As far as winners, like actual winners, 1. Everybody else didn't win the show, but they're such front runners, and they're such.
I know. I'm like,
just to me, Bianca is like the only one that I'm like, winner, chicken dinner all the way, everything. But because the other ones are like the Alyssas and like,
well, Alyssa didn't win,
Adores and. Exactly.
Well, you know what?
Would you want to know? The only winner, the one.
She's so great. It's so interesting. When we were talking about Utica a second ago, I actually thought of Bianca only for this weird reason. Follow me here, is because Utica, performative, as we said, and then I'm thinking in my head, I'm thinking Bianca, although her shtick is to be, the Rolodex of hate, Bianca probably is, out of all of the queens, the most delightful one to work with. So it's that weird thing. And it's so weird that you said performative and Utica, and I was like agreeing with you, but then that led me to how, stop doing that. Just be yourself and be a good person, and that will shine through. Don't Olivia us and tell us you're a good person. Don't Olivia us and tell us your congeniality. Yeah. We'll let you know.
Only Bianca has that talent, though. Only Bianca has that talent, because she is, by definition, she came onto the show and told everyone, this is what I do best. I'm an insult comic.
Yeah.
And she does it so fucking well.
Yeah.
That we don't ever have to even question if it's distasteful, because it's always true. We never even have to question if it's inappropriate, because she's never given us a reason to even think about something like that. Yeah. You just have to be organic. That's what I'm talking about. So when Utica played up all this like crazy wokeness, we were just like,
yeah, sit down. Yeah.
Leave the room.
It felt like you were distracting us. It's like, it felt like you were distracting us because there's a fire somewhere behind you, and you're like, no, look right here, look how well I am. And I
tell
was
it. Yeah.
I think Bianca Del Rio, to me, is one of the only queens who really across the board was everything. Like, She gave the looks. She could do comedy. She could, do just like everything. But I did love Evie Oddly. I'm not going to lie. I just thought she was so weird. I just felt like she was different. Like she just gave us something different. And I really like that. Also, her dad was hot as shit.
Come on.
I love Evie.
That really gave some bonus points. I do have a soft spot for Bob the Drag Queen.
Yeah, there we go.
Purse first. I say purse first on a regular basis.
Right.
I hate the purse first shit. I hate it.
Oh,
I love Bob though.
I have stated this
rivalry.
Sentence, and we don't have to answer this right now. You guys could if you want. I always say that I do think Bob would give every queen a run for their money in an all-winner season. Not to say Bob is the best, but Bob is competitive as shit to this day. Where some of the other, like Raja is brilliant. I love Raja, one of my favorite winners. That's actually one of the people I was going to bring up. But like, who's going to want to keep going into this competition? Who's going to want to get their hands dirty? Yeah, Bob totally to me is, and you know what? Bob might be, I mean, not to make anything bigger, but like bigger than Drag Race. Bob, this is going to be a vehicle. Bob is just such an amazing comic, an amazing talent regardless. So,
well, that's why he got that show on HBO, because he is bigger than Drag Race. He's great.
We're here.
But here's the thing about Bob. I'm just going to keep it totally 100%.
Oh no, this is a Bob love zone.
And he is such a talent and stuff. And that's why he's bigger than Drag Race, ended up on HBO. That's why I'm prefacing with all that good love, because that's what I say also.
Here he comes.
But when it comes down to the finale though, if we're going to go back to Drag Race, he shouldn't have won. And I know people that were in the audience when they filmed all three winners. You know how they film all three so no one spoils it? When they announced Kimchi, the entire stadium was even like hitting the feet on the ground, because Kimchi should have won that season. I love Bob to death, and he's so great. Like I said, I'm not taking anything away, because he still would have been like a Trixie that would have been super successful no matter what. But as far as like the winner of Drag Race, he should have not won Drag Race.
Oh, good strong top three though. That was
oh my god, yeah. No, he deserved to be in the top three, but the winner should have been Kimchi.
I do remember when it was down to him and Kimchi, feeling like whoever wins, I'll be okay with, because I truly loved both of them so much, and I saw reasons for both. And it was one of those where I was like, I really don't know who's gonna win this right now, because normally I feel I have a good feeling about, like, especially how they've done it the last couple seasons with like the spinning of the wheel, or like, it's a random matchup.
Do you guys like that? I don't know. Because fucking random, right?
Because Sasha Velour, in my opinion, shouldn't have won season 9. I'm just gonna say it.
Peppermint should have won. Yeah, Peppermint was my winner.
It's because freaking
Sasha's great, but yeah.
It's because of the spinning, I personally thought Shea Coulee should have won that.
Okay, so the random wheel does not work, because people do not, they win if they shouldn't. It's too random. It's like you're putting my entire dreams based on this little board that's spinning. But I have to say though, when it comes down to it and you deliver, like Sasha Velour and the Roses, I mean,
it was brilliant.
And they didn't even show what happened on that performance for real. Shay fell on the Roses, like she ate it, and they didn't show it on TV because they wanted to be nice. They're like, we're not going to do her like that. But when it actually like came down to like, in the moment, all right, the random wheel, we have to just go with it. It's going to happen. She did outperform Shay.
I mean, obviously, I also feel like you're gonna compete against whoever, no matter what, like, because you're like, so it's like my personal final two of this season did compete against each other in the lip sync.
Yeah,
they weren't the final performance, because in my opinion, Simone and Gottmik should have been final two.
Yes, I agree. I don't think it should have been Candy. I think it should have been Gottmik and Simone.
I like that you guys mentioned that you think the wheel is kind of a hindrance. Maybe they can in future look into more like stats. Like stats could come into play, or votes could come into play. Maybe winner of the top style. Meaning
the way that just like Ru just breaks it down, and it's not your time, and it's the final two, and he makes a decision. Because if we're gonna go back to the old way, then it should have been Shea Coulee. Then I agree with Drew that Shea should have won. But because of the wheel thing, it's like Sasha just pulled out this fucking rabbit from the hat that none of us expected.
Because so it's Sasha was safe a lot of that season, and Shea was at top
Exactly.
that season.
Exactly.
So the reason I don't really like the wheel spinning is because I don't feel like the season is getting reflected on the way
like
that
if you didn't win, right?
Drew just hit it on the money.
Because like I adore Candy Muse, but Candy Muse was like in the bottom a lot.
Exactly.
And I adore her. I think she has one of the best personalities, but like her looks compared to the other three, not even close. Not even remotely close.
Well, I think that's what we'll get to the top 4 here in a second, but I think that's what makes the show so good is you end up having your own like people that you root for certain reasons. I'm thinking about just we'll get back to season 13, but I'm thinking about how you guys are mentioning some great points about well, it was the Peppermint, it was Shay and Sasha and who's our gal that we love, Plastic Girl, what is her name? Anyways, it was those top 4. We all have our like biases or what we go for. Like Peppermint, I had known from living up on 145th for a little bit, but then Sasha, when that season hit, it was not only Pride Weekend in New York, but I was also watching the win at a bar in Bushwick, which Sasha lived in Bushwick. And then that Sunday after Pride, she performed at Loft 45.
Was it fucking glorious?
So I always have like Peppermint is who I knew as an acquaintance back in the day, but like, so that's who I wanted to win. But like also being amongst Bushwick, Brooklyn, Sasha-ness during Pride Weekend, like I got to tell you guys, like it gave it all to me in that regard. So that was a strong top 4. Let's get to this top 4 in a second, but I do want to just have more opinions on Candy. Sometimes I feel like I end up defending Candy so much just because she was so she was hated to a degree. Obviously she did some actions to create that, but I just want to get Leon and Drew's take on like everything, and then we could transition into the Tamisha thing because I love Tamisha, but I just want to know what everyone thinks here.
Well, it's about journey. It's about journey. And I think Candy showed a great journey, like a great fucking journey, you know? She stopped for ice cream. She stopped to, say hi to the people on the side of the road. It was a great fucking journey. Totally could not stand her the first 5 weeks, and now I like her. I understand her more. You have to understand what's behind the facade, what's behind the anger, what's behind the comedy, whatever you put on for people are either going to love it or they're going to hate it. And then afterwards, they're going to understand why afterwards. So once I understood why Candy was the way she was, I started to like her more and I started to be on her side. But it was a nice full journey. But I totally, when it comes to her and Tamisha, I do not like the way Candy acted. I'm like, you're just that loud girl on the playground, and everyone knows it's always too much bark and never enough bite. When it came down to biting, Tamisha would have whooped her ass. Like I would be scared of Tamisha. And the thing I'm always going to defend like a drag queen like Tamisha. I'm always going to love drag queens like Tamisha because I grew up watching old school drag. I didn't grow up watching these new 20-year-olds thinking drag is amazing, coming in pheromones, looking all beautiful with blonde hair.
Can't stand pheromones.
I grew up watching 40-year-old men dress up like women, being female impersonators. I grew up watching old school drag. So Tamisha, I'm like, I fucking love Tamisha. She's so good. And she's a true professional.
See, I feel a little differently because I'm kind of torn in the middle on the issue. I do agree in the sense that like Candy wasn't my favorite. I liked her and I recognize that type of person because like I grew up in a similar setting as Candy and everyone knows that girl. So I was like, okay, but I did really appreciate her journey and I felt like she grew. My issue with the Tamisha thing was, and it's my same issue with like the boomers versus millennials thing, is I feel like there's something to be learned from both aspects and neither one of you can come into it as if you know everything. Tamisha, your way of life is not how it is now. It's respectful, like cool. Thank you for you and drag queens like you who have helped get us to this point, and we're appreciative of that. But you're on the same playing field. Like we're both here on season 13 at the same time. You know what I'm saying? Like
it's a big point right here. Yeah, keep going. I love. Yeah,
you're not higher than me because you've been in the game longer than me, and I feel like sometimes with old heads, like there's this you're going to show me respect. You're going to give me respect, whether you like it or not. And like, and maybe this is just the bitch in me or the Aquarius, I don't know, but like, I'm not doing shit unless you give me a reason to. Like, so I like, cause I don't know you, sis. Like, you're here, you're, as far as I'm concerned, you're on the same playing field as I am.
Yep.
And so you're not going to come in here and I'm not going to kiss the ring just because like, what, you're old?
Respect. Yeah, no,
which is why we have, yeah. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Leon.
No, I was going to say, like, of course, that it makes perfect sense. And that is the retaliatory kind of attitude that the young people have. They're like, bitch, please, we're on a show together. I ain't kissing your ass. I don't care how long you've been doing it. I don't care that your best friend came down through the roof, did the splits. I totally see Drew's point.
And I agree with, like, because I also grew up, you know, my mom was like the bar manager of a lot of these gay drag clubs and stuff growing up. So I was in the culture from like birth, essentially. So I grew up with people like Tamisha, and so I respect the work that they came into because it wasn't all glam and glitz. I mean, it's still not, but it definitely wasn't like back when she was first starting out. You know, the homophobia is bad now. Imagine it 20, 30 years ago.
That and you just didn't plop in a career. You didn't say like, oh, my Broadway career didn't work. Let me throw on a wig and be cute and have skin that's taut. And all of a sudden I'm going to get, you know, a bag. Like that's kind of where it's at now. Again, like you mentioned, it's nothing wrong with that, but that is a difference for sure.
I think it was like both people came in with like my ish doesn't stink. And I think it was that both people were equally wrong. I just think Candy was painted more so as the villain because we're supposed to respect our elders. And I didn't necessarily think that was fair because I do think Tanisha was on some BS too. But like,
she told her that there was no camera, she would have hit her. I'm like, okay, girl, that we're fighting. You know what I mean? Like, I don't take lightly to that either.
I was gonna say there's some stuff Tanisha said that like I was like, baby, I'm from Airport Park. I would whoop that ass. I don't care how old. I will go for the knee. I don't care. Yeah.
But Candy's also that kind of person that you want to just, if she comes for you, you want to just trigger the, you know what I mean? You know, bring up all the things. And she was, when you tell someone like Candy, who's kind of young and very confident, borderline narcissistic, if not narcissistic, that you don't like them, that is going to get under their skin because they are used to liked by everybody. Mm-hmm. And when you don't like when you're not liked as a narcissist, it drives you fucking crazy.
I think it had to be just good television, and not because of the drama, but because of the situations at hand. I actually very much hold the card of being old bastard. You know what I'm saying? I'm 40 years old. You know, this body is what it is. And I do sometimes, I'm being honest to you guys, have some issues with the younger people, maybe even doing what I'm doing. And obviously I know they could run circles around me because the environment is as it's arced that way. But that's so this is why that argument was so interesting to me, a 40-year-old, is because I was like, well, I could see the Tamisha side. Like, I didn't cut my teeth. I do have stories to tell. I actually have experience, but now I am in a space where I have to be packaged with all these brand new people. The only thing where Tamisha got me, because typically I'm always for the older. Typically I'm never for the younger. It's just kind of who I am. But I didn't like Tamisha being passive aggressive. I didn't like it saying some of you's got to do this, that. It's like, listen, you better say the name. You can't get away with too many some of you. Who are you talking to? Because I'm sitting right here. Let's get to it. And it's funny because, again, because I don't typically run for the young queens as being like the hot thing, I'm usually like, let's let you like learn who you are a little bit longer. I don't knock what you do, but let's let you learn. I was surprised that I did feel such a connection with Candy. Maybe I see a part of myself that is Candy related. I think that's kind of why we watch the show. There's parts of us that are very similar. But, you know, when you compare Candy to like, I think last season or one of the seasons you had a Silky Ganache, I didn't like Silky because she was loud. And therefore Silky was loud. And then I liked Silky. I thought Silky was not that talented. I mean, not terrible, but not that talented. Whereas with Candy, I feel like sometimes her drag got overshadowed because everyone wanted to paint this picture that she's only loud and she's only making great VH1 TV. And that's the only reason she walks in the door. When there is a truth to the fact that she walks in a door, she walks into pieces in New York City and she rocks it. Like, we can't get away from the fact that Candy does have talent. And that's, I think, where I end up defending her. That, and I would like to go to bed with her. So that's a whole different topic for another day. For my
you want to go to bed
account.
with Candy Muse?
Baby, oh, you bust it. Come on. I mean, yeah, all of it. And I don't go wiggle, 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 wiggle.
Good for you, honey. Good
I mean, we
you.
all have our things, Leon.
Oh, we do.
Yeah.
But you know what though? To touch on what you were saying, I feel like I feel kind of the same way that you do. But you know what? It really surprised me the way I gravitated towards the young people this season. I fucking love Gottmik.
Oh yeah.
Oh man.
Well, that's the point.
Person.
If they're young, like, so I don't like young typically, but when Violet hit that stage in season 7, and she had a little attitude too, I was like, you ain't gonna touch Violet, because Violet was like, so again, my eyes are like, the young, but if you can step through that door, you know the references, you appreciate the culture, then I'm gonna give it to you. And you're right, Gottmik was amazing. One more tease before we get to top 4. My last question to you two is Olivia arcing as congeniality, Lala Ree gets congeniality. What are your thoughts?
I did not want Olivia to get Miss Congeniality.
Same.
Because, I just didn't feel that was her. I felt like, not that her niceness is a facade, but it kind of had the same thing as like a Utica, where it's like there's something underlying there, and you're trying really hard to create this image for us, and it's just not, the paint's not drying on this baby. Like, it's just not selling. But then when they said Lala Reed, I was like, okay. But then I was looking at the cast and I was like, yeah, no, I wouldn't give any of these people Miss Congeniality. So
I know.
who I would give Miss Congeniality to would have been someone in the top 4.
I have my pick.
Respectfully disagree, but go ahead, Leon.
So I totally agree with Drew saying there wasn't really a standout Miss Congeniality, like a natural one. Like, we know Olivia was going for that from the beginning. Like, girl, you're not here to win Drag Race. You're here to win Miss Congeniality. Yeah. You know what I mean? So if we're going to pick amongst the other people that weren't, Miss Congeniality-ish, but we have to pick someone, I guess the next person would have been Lala Ree, because she was nice. She really didn't say anything shady. She was really funny in her confessionals. But if I'm going to pick someone that, like, fan favorite, go back to like Asha being shady towards Valentina, fan favorite, you're a fan favorite, you are not Miss Congeniality. If we're going to go with fan favorite, I think I'm going to do Denali, because I
love Denali.
I didn't even think about that. I take it back. I agree with that.
Love fucking Denali.
I on the Instagrams, I was over there, typing in that my picks were actually Lala and Denali, and more so Lala, but if Denali would be like prepped for like All Stars, like that's what that's feeling like. And to the point with Olivia, yeah, it's this thing. I mean, you have to have charisma, uniqueness, nerve, and talent, and it doesn't seem like Olivia did that. It seemed what Olivia was doing was this thing, and it's kind of in reference to what we were talking about with the older queens, that like when they used to do it, as Leon said, I'm a man, 40-year-old man, doing drag, and they cared about the craft of drag. Whereas what Olivia was doing was more like, I can play nice, get on TV, get a huge following, get my brands endorsed, et cetera, et cetera. So there was a lack of connection with Olivia. Not saying she's not great, but there was a huge lack of connection. Drew, I actually thought Lala the whole time. So that's just, yeah, I thought Lala so early, but then typically what I like doesn't really happen on this show.
That's why I said she would be the next choice. Like, she was nice. If you think about it, she was like the next best Miss Congeniality.
And I guess it also matters what you look for. You know what I mean? Like, what is your thing? Like, for me, it's somebody who just brings joy to the show. Does have a good sisterhood with the other queens, stuff like that. And Lala was the first pick, but then all of a sudden, Denali came flooding through my spirit, and I was like, yo, Denali? We kind of missed it because Olivia was painted as congeniality, but I'm like, Denali was it. Like, Denali was fun,
And like when she was upset, she still wasn't trying to be shady. Like, she tried to communicate like things that hurt her. Like, I don't know. I really like Denali. So I do take back what I say. I agree with Leon on that. But Lala, and I love Lala. Maybe Lala wasn't telling it for me because she reminds me so much of Howard III.
Oh my God.
Stop it. Our friend Howard.
I am fucking dead. Happy birthday, Howard. I love you.
So I have a vendetta for Lala Reed that
I'm fucking dead.
But I'm just now coming to terms with this because of
Hey, Howard. Oh my goodness.
I am fucking
I wish
deceased.
I got vibes.
So you felt like they had a similarity. Oh,
Yeah.
and you could not see it. You could not see it.
Howard's tethered.
Yeah.
If Howard were gonna do drag, he's Lala
Lala
Ray for sure.
Yeah.
If that happens though, in Monet's season, I have a friend, my friend Star, who to me has a personality that's so Monet Exchange. And now it doesn't really make sense because Monet Exchange has now been on the season and now has won and now is doing great things with sibling rivalry. But when I first saw Monet, it reminded me of my friend Star, like in the cadence, in the tone, you know, the way she'll stop down and say this. And so you'll start to see your own circle on the show sometimes. You guys ready
Ronnie,
to talk about? Yes.
Before we get into the top 4, can I ask both of you a question real quick?
Go for it.
Do you think we should have had that stupid fucking tie? Do you think they both should have won it, or should have went to Trinity, or should have went to just Monet? My opinion, I love Monet Exchange so much, but when it came down to like that season, Trinity killed it for me. And I'm not even a Trinity like stan like that. I'm not even like a, oh my God, but just like, I just recently watched it back and I'm like, it was just so, it was good. Like they both gave it a run, but you know, there's only one winner.
I think that's the problem with the show. The show ends up being like who you have to make win because Monet's like coming up with Bob. And so, yeah, there's that thing. I mean, I'm not going to mention any names, but there are some queens that like do better online and are busier. So it kind of felt like, I mean, was Blair St. Clair really an all-star? I mean, when Bob ripped Blair St. Clair on the after show, there was just cause, you know, like.
Did Blair come back? Is he an all-star?
Was an all-star, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Pretty and all these, like, I mean, that is a skill set for sure. But
I don't remember him coming back.
Unrememberable. Oh,
he did come back. I did.
Forgettable.
I mean, I guess his big moment. I just still remember his big moment that he did on his last episode. He's like, I'm going home. I'm just gonna like bring this trauma out of nowhere.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, no. So to the tie. I didn't want to tie. I do think I wanted Monet to win. If I watched it back, I might agree with you. I'll leave it at that. You might be right. It's always different when you watch it of the time. I didn't think Alaska was set up to sort of win, but I kind of thought
Alaska
Detox was a baddie. Like I thought Detox kind of
Alaska.
God. Alaska whore. I love her.
No, good. Okay, well, moving on.
But I do think I think that maybe if you just focus on All Stars, I can understand the Trinity thing. I just think that Monet Exchange came off so hot from her season. It was so hard not to be obsessed with Monet Exchange that you want, like, she had to win.
Yeah. I do love Monet. Don't get me wrong. Oh, I love
No,
her
you're
so
just being
much.
critical. That's totally.
Fun tea though about two of the people in the final four. Gottmik and Rose, when I first started out working as a casting, back then I was like a casting assistant. My first show was about drag queens, was about up and coming baby drag queens. And it was about sisterhood. And so we had interviewed back in the day Gottmik and two of her other drag friends. And then it was prior to Gottmik becoming who he is now today.
Oh wow.
So yeah, it was prior to all of that. So it was really exciting to see him on this show as who he truly is and everything. But then also Rose and Jan, and I forget the third one's name, but they were also someone that we had interviewed and we're going to work with as well. And out of curiosity, when Jan came on the show last season, I was like, do I still have their numbers in my phone? And I do. I still have Jan and Rose in my phone. I don't text them or anything, obviously. I don't know them, but I was just like, what a weird world. And then I saw Gottmik on Bumble a couple weeks ago.
Oh, okay.
Hilarious.
Gottmik had a great season. I mean,
you're wondering.
Huh?
I said he swiped right, in case you were wondering.
Of course. How could you not? This is Drew, baby. Yeah, Gottmik had a great season. Fun to watch. I can't, nothing but good comments about his drag, and you know, you wanted to learn more, and I think the show was done well, you know, coming off the heels of the show having some questionable stuff. Like, it was probably a hard thing to do, and so I feel that hopefully that it was done with tender love and care. I hope that we got really some good stuff. And I love the fashion of it all was really, really hot. And I loved Gottmik. The charm that we started to see the last 4 or 5 episodes was really cute. I'll have to go back and watch. I don't know if we saw all the warmth, but like towards the end we saw this warmth, this confidence being built, so it was really nice.
I love Gottmik. I think his journey is great. He was the one that I wanted to win, especially after the Snatch game. I'm like, he made me laugh. To me, I'm so easy, you guys. I know I sound really critical. I'm very much like RuPaul, though. You make me laugh, I'm in. You know what I mean? That's why I love Housewives. That's why I excuse a lot of the behavior. I grew up podcasting about the Real Housewives from the beginning. And as you know, like in the beginning, they were like absolutely batshit crazy. Now it's a little bit more produced batshit crazy. But the point is, I always excused it because it made me laugh. Like, if you make me laugh, you are golden. So after the Snatch game, I was like, that was really fucking funny. But it was one of those situations where if it was Gottmik and Simone, like, I just did not care who won as long as it was either one of those. Simone is just someone that blew me away, not just with her looks, but the message behind. Like, I know what it's like to be that really, really, really effeminate boy in school. And then for no one to see like your stardom until after you leave all of that kind of institute behind as far as schooling. So I had a terrible time in elementary school. So when he talked about that, I was just like, I know exactly who he is. I was that kid. I love him. His fashion is fucking great. And he's just like a smooth, queen from LA. I love Simone.
Yeah, all 4 to me felt like you had just mentioned you wouldn't mind Gottmik or Simone to win. I felt like all 4 I was in on. They all brought something
not Rose
different.
For me.
Not Rose. Was it
No,
the perfectionist issue? Did that throw you off?
Yeah,
Because I related to. I actually liked
very,
that.
What's the one from Australia? Oh, Courtney-act. Very Courtney-act. Like perfect, beautiful, but robotic. Like no vulnerability. Like when she talked about like bottoming for her boyfriend, that was like the most real thing she said to me. Like Rose, and then when I'm also like a queen that travels to New York. I'm very well versed with Broadway. Like I did 5 regional Broadway shows in Nevada, and I could tell you that she is not all that great for, like, if we're gonna throw her in the New York crowd, like, I'm good for Las Vegas Broadway crowd, but if I was gonna be thrown in that New York crowd, like, that's why I'm not there. That's why I'm in LA. Yeah, she just wasn't that good to me.
Okay.
Yeah, she just seemed too in her head for me. Like, I didn't feel like I knew her really. She was really good. Like, she had great looks. She performed well in challenges and stuff, but it was just like,
what's her story? Yeah,
and I feel like that's important.
That's fair.
For a drag winner is like for us to feel like you're one of us, and like, she didn't feel like she didn't feel like a Princess Diana.
She was just like, I love my parents. I'm great. I'm a Broadway kid, and I'm like,
Candy, I knew was gonna make it strictly because they always have to have that one very outspoken person that you love to hate. Like, that person's always in the top 4. So you cannot, like, it always happens.
Yeah.
I knew Candy was going, and Candy had too much camera time this season for her not to be in the top 4.
What do you guys think about Candy, Asha? Like, their wouldn't be a feud, but their differences of opinions. I fight for Candy quite a bit, but the one thing I will critique Candy on would be that Candy, you do have to realize and understand that Aja did give you that platform. So to be as confident as you are, there is an aspect of like, I actually haven't seen many of the other queens bring everyone has their little family to a degree, but Aja did do a lot for Candy. I was watching the Hey Queen with Johnny McGovern, and of course Candy's right there. Those things just don't happen to everybody. So that should at least be noted. I don't think
are they good on good terms?
I thought it was just like on a generic, like, oh, feelings were hurt, That was Aja had went to Instagram at the top of the season. I don't know where that is now, but yeah.
Well, I do think it kind of plays into Candy's lack of like not respecting your elders or whatever, but I do think like there is a sense with younger people where it's like we did everything on our own, blah, 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 which like to an extent, yes, like you fought for yourself, you got, you know, whatever, but you can't deny that certain people did X, Y, and Z so that you're able to do A, B, C. And Candy to me reads as someone who doesn't bring that in, doesn't consider that.
I think that Candy could learn, and again, Candy fan here. Candy could learn when Candy's not. What ends up happening is Candy says something, it gets received so negatively. So then the defense comes up, and there's never actually downtime to be like, okay, like I have to be bold because I always have to fight for myself, which we saw in the show the reasons for some of that. But like we need a down moment for Candy. I think I'd love to see Candy down the road in an All Stars, not even soon. I feel like maybe in 2 years, like then come back to an All Stars, because you can't always be defending, because I think you need that down moment to be like, okay, what did I play in this role with Aja? What did I play in this role with Tamisha? What can I stand behind and what can I not stand behind? You know?
Yeah, I had to ask if they were on good terms, but I wasn't surprised with the answer because the way that Candy comes off, she's such a big personality. Like to me, I did kind of just see Candy in the background during Aja's like Instagram account, following high times during her season when everybody was following her, myself included. I would see Candy in the background and stuff, but nothing stuck out like Aja. Aja was such a star, but now that Candy's there, I realized like how infectious and big Candy is. I knew immediately, and I got that vibe exactly what Drew talked about. It's like, thanks for opening the door, but you really didn't do anything. Like, I'm here in the party and I'm hosting the party. All you did was open the door. And it's like, bitch, that door is like the most important part.
Yeah.
Talk about it.
She totally gives off that vibe. But you know, it is what it is.
Candy doesn't have to kiss the ring, and Candy could own the fact that, well, so was Dahlia. Dahlia was also, you know, in Aja's circle, and Dahlia didn't do anything.
Exactly.
And Candy, I'm Candy. I did, but there has to be a little bit of a realness to the help. Okay, let's talk about our darling Simone, our winner. I know from chatting with Drew prior to the finale that Drew wanted Simone to win. So take it away with just what it was about day one, or was it worked up thing? Like, where did you like Simone from the day one, or did it grow?
Simone was my pick from day one. To me, it's just you don't see a lot of queens. She gave me what Bianca Del Rio gave me, which is like when she came into the workroom, you immediately were like, oh, this is a fully realized queen. Like, this is someone who knows what they want to present to the world, how they want to do it. And every single look was just so thought out, so like the message and everything. There were so many, to me, like, I love when someone has a bit of an activist twist to their fashion, but it's still fashion. Because some people because Candy Muse tried to do that in the finale with the BLM thing, and it just didn't hit. Whereas like Simone, like the Lakers fit with the high top that comes up, and then
Grace
the
Jones vibe kind of,
and then the Timbs fit, and it was just so, there were so many little odes to Black culture, and not only Black culture, but Black women, because I feel like sometimes I have beef with drag queens because there's this disrespect towards women. Like there's occasionally like a separation between the two, where Simone was like, I wouldn't be the drag queen I was if it wasn't for the women in my life, and this is me paying homage to them. And I just loved how she brought that all in together. So, and she was funny and she was consistent. And I knew she's a winner, baby.
Leon, were you early to the party with Simone?
Yeah, like I connected with her, like I said earlier, like her story and her fashion. As far as like the finale, VH1, you suck, your app sucks, you still haven't put it up, which is like really crazy. Like, can you just people all over the world just have to eventually give into the spoilers, which we hate. Like, I love TV, so I take it very seriously. So when I don't get to see it, it really, really sucks. But I did catch some clips online, and like Gottmik doing Britney, it's just not going to work for me. So Simone turned it out for me. So True winner.
Yeah, she's great. I think I saw success in her at the beginning. I think in the middle, I might have like disconnected a bit. That might have just been from enjoying other queens. But the last like 4 episodes, she really turned it up. And she is winner worthy. And I think she's a good humble winner. You know, sometimes we don't have humble winners, and that's kind of a new nice thing. So yeah, I think she's the perfect person. Yeah, the Britney stuff was great because everyone got to dance to Britney. And you guys, I really enjoyed a somewhat softer season. Season 13, obviously we talked about some of the stuff, the fuckery, but I liked it. And yeah, luck be a lady tonight. Season 13 was it for me. Any last thoughts on any of the queens? Anything from the finale? I like that they did Bette Midler, an homage to Bette Midler singing Friends. I thought that was important. I love when the cultural aspect of LGBTQIA stuff is represented. I like that.
I think last thought for me is I'm so excited to see what Gottmik does next. I think he came in with just like, you know, I just thought he was going to be a makeup and fashion queen, and to see like his comedy and just to see him grow as a drag queen was really, really fun. So I kind of hope we see him in a couple years maybe on All Stars, because I just think like once he really fully like is a fully realized drag queen, like he's gonna be unstoppable.
He was way more than Gorge, but Gorge was enough.
Gorge.
But way more. Yeah, Gorge. Leon, last thoughts?
My last thought is I just look forward to more exposure to drag, more world global drag, because I loved like season 2 of UK's Drag Race. It was so brilliant. Bimini Bombulo was like, oh, it was just so good. So you know what? I've evolved as well as a viewer and as a person. So, you know, like I said, I love that old school drag, the 40-year-old men doing, you know, Spanish trauma songs. You know, I also now love so many kinds of drag because of the exposure to it. Representation matters as always. So I'm really happy to see global drag all over the world, Australia, and whoever else pops up on my TV. So I'm just excited to see all sorts of things, you know?
It's influential. As Leon said, he had a trouble with your youth, the femininity and how that played. And then you're right, Simone will say something and it'll like get you right in your heart. Like everything is related to everything. And I think it was a good season. Thank you to Queens for hanging out. Drew, what is the social media accounts?
You guys can follow me on everything at OKDrewJ. And make sure to check out the YouTube channel Blurs in the Hood on Tuesday, because there's going to be a big announcement.
Ooh.
And you might be involved in it.
So. All right now, all right. And if you want to hear Drew and me talk about the OC and One Tree Hill, we did that on a former pop culture POV. We got more to do later, but that's just that. Leanne, tell us about Everyone is Terrible.
Yes, everyone can check out the podcast on Apple or Spotify, wherever you hear your podcast. It's called Everyone is Terrible, pop culture podcast, reality TV, top 10 on Netflix, whoever's trending, celebrity gossip, all the good stuff. Follow me at Hollywood Leon and at Everyone is Terrible Pod. Going back to my roots, everyone knows I got 2 things going for me, the podcasting thing and then the other thing. So if you want to know what that is, come check it out. I'm going to be doing something this year that's going to be amazing.
So proud of both of you. You guys inspire me. Yes. Congrats to Simone for winning the season 13. What a good season. All right. Thank you guys. We're out of here.